Alhaji Kabiru Rabiu, representing the chairman, BUA Foods PLC. Mr. Abdul Samad Rabiu, CON. The acting managing director of BUA Foods PLC, Engineer Ayodele Abiru. The chief financial officer of BUA Foods PLC, Mr. Abdul Rashid Olaiwola, as well as other members of the management team of BUA Foods PLC who are presently on the call. Thank you for joining in today. I'd also like to introduce the team from Nigerian Exchange Limited. I'll start by welcoming the divisional head listings business, Mr. Olumide Bolumole. The acting divisional head business support services, Mrs. Irene Robinson Ayomole. Welcome, sirs and ma. My name is Loretta, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. We're pleased that you could take the time to join us despite your busy schedules, and it's going to be an interactive session. Before we get into the agenda for the session, I'd like to share a few housekeeping notes. So for our speakers, please remember to keep your microphone muted throughout the session, except when you're invited to make a contribution. For attendees, we encourage your active participation. And if you have any questions at any point, kindly type them in the Q&A feature on your screen, and we'll hold them for the appropriate Q&A session towards the end of this webinar. We look forward to an engaging facts behind the listing presentation today. The welcome address will be delivered by Mr. Olumide Bolumole, Divisional Head Listings Business, Nigerian Exchange Limited. His welcome address will be followed by a brief remark from the representative of the chairman, BUA Foods PLC, Alhaji Kabiru Rabiu. Afterwards, we'll listen to a presentation from the acting managing director of BUA Foods PLC, Engineer Ayodele Abiru, who will be joined by Mr. Abdul Rashid Olaiwola, the chief financial officer of BUA Foods PLC. Please remember to share any questions you may have on the presentation via the Q&A feature on your screen. Thank you once again for joining us for this session. I will now invite Mr. Olumide Bolumole for his opening remarks. Over to you, Mr. Olumide.
Thank you so much, Loretta. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and a very happy new year to you. I am delighted to welcome you all to this year's first Facts Behind the Listing for BUA Foods PLC. On behalf of the board and management of Nigerian Exchange Limited, NGX, I congratulate the board, management, and staff of BUA Foods PLC on its successful listing by introduction on the NGX main board. We are indeed excited to kick off this year on a strong note with this notable listing of 18 billion ordinary shares of BUA Foods PLC at 40 Naira per share on the Nigerian Exchange. We recognize the efforts made by the board and management of BUA Foods towards this listing and the roles played by all the professional parties to this transaction, including Stanbic IBTC Capital Limited, the lead financial advisor, Rand Merchant Bank Limited, and UCML Capital Limited, the joint financial advisors, APT Securities Limited and Cardinal Stone Securities Limited, as well as other transaction parties for their hard work and dedicated efforts towards the actualization of a successful listing. As you know, listing on the NGX main board requires a commitment to high standards of disclosure and corporate governance. And companies listed on the exchange benefit from being able to leverage on the deep pool of local and international investors to access capital. Following the admission of BUA Foods shares on the main board of the exchange on Wednesday, January 5th, 2022, the company has experienced an upward trend in share price, market capitalization, along with trading activity. This communicates the market's appetite and investors' alignment with the company's strategic goal and the willingness to participate in the growth story. Additionally, as of Friday, 14th January, BUA Foods became the largest company by market capitalization in the consumer goods sector. This listing marks a new beginning for BUA Foods, who play a critical role in the FMCG industry, and the company can now leverage other capital markets products and services the exchange offers to achieve the strategic objectives. Last year, the food, beverage, and tobacco subsector accounted for 37% of the total manufacturing sector output in Nigeria and 5% of the country's GDP. The sector expanded by 5% year-on-year and 14.6% quarter-on-quarter respectively in Q3 2021, with 4.3% average growth every quarter since Q1 2020. Driven largely by the country's favorable demographics and the consumption behavior of Nigerians, the sector holds great potential for job creation. As part of BUA Group's strategic thrust to optimize its processes and to maintain market leadership in the consumer goods sector, the group deemed the consolidation of its food-related operations into a single entity, BUA Foods PLC, necessary to take full advantage of the growth opportunities in the economy. Furthermore, BUA Foods have also invested heavily in the backward integration program of the federal government under the supervision of the National Sugar Development Council, NSDC, to ensure its operations are optimized and to also benefit from the positive growth in the agriculture sector. We commend the board and management of BUA Foods for today's interactive session, as this creates a forum for discourse and dissemination of information. Given that the market is driven by timely, relevant, and accurate information, interactions such as these remain critical in the decision-making for all investors. At NGX, we will continue to champion the development of the Nigerian capital market through advocacy initiatives, partnerships with key stakeholders, interactive sessions with regulators, deployment of new products, and the optimization of processes leveraging technology. As the capital market plays a major role in driving economic development across our nation, we therefore urge all key stakeholders to work collectively towards a common goal using the capital market and partnering with the Nigerian exchange. We encourage BUA Foods PLC to continue to strive for excellence by adhering to the highest standards of disclosure and corporate governance. The NGX is dedicated to being a trusted partner to BUA Foods on its journey, even as we implore all our issuers to take advantage of our platform to interact with the market. We thank you, our invited guests, for your presence today and encourage you to participate fully during this interactive session. We wish BUA Foods great success as it embarks on this new phase as a listed company on a globally recognized exchange, and we encourage the company to remain transparent in its dealings and comply always with its post-listing obligations. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to now welcome and invite BUA Foods PLC to make their presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olumide, for your remarks. I will now welcome Ms. Alhaji Kabiru Rabiu for his opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Loretta. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the chairman, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome all of you to this presentation, the facts behind the listing of BUA Foods PLC. Putting the nation on an accelerated development path within the well-specified, realistic, and attainable timeline is the overall objective before the country today. The decision to list another BUA company on the exchange reaffirms our long-term commitment to the contribution towards national economic growth plans, especially within the agriculture and food processing value chains. Our listing on the exchange undoubtedly creates a new consumer goods asset class for investors and provides an opportunity for a wider group of Nigerians to be part of the food sector's growth story. As a fully integrated food conglomerate, BUA Foods is no doubt equipped to play a leading role in the developmental drive of our economy. We are a well-diversified company with strategically located plans for efficiency in production, market penetration, and supporting the demand dynamics across the subsectors we operate in. Our strong expansion drive in key strategy is key strategy to continuously and competitively meet demand for our quality products and stay ahead in the market. It underscores our focus to be a part of the life and healthy consumption choices of every Nigerian. We understand that the demand for healthy and quality food products will continue to increase as we grow our economy and our population expands. This is one of the reasons we are investing in capacity building supported by a robust backward integration strategy to harness opportunities in front of us today to position for those ahead. Our vision is to fulfill Africa's food demands by promoting food security and nourishing lives. This we are strongly committed to. Additionally, we continue to do business with a deep appreciation for our regulatory standards. We are also very supportive of our host communities because people matter to us, either as employees, vendors, or stakeholders. Our plan is to continue expanding our CSR efforts and build our business in a way that helps our partners grow as they do business with us. Our revenue base for now is diversified because we have 3 operational divisions, namely sugar, pasta, and flour. This will expand as the rice and edible oil divisions become reactivated. The facts behind the listing gives us an opportunity to look more closely at the numbers and the narrative behind the BUA Foods performance. I take this opportunity to thank our customers, our consumers, and partners across the entire value chain for their continued support. We share a strong bond with each other. Ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to thank the SEC and the NGX Limited for their efforts toward ensuring the listing occurred. I particularly want to acknowledge the noteworthy work done by all our principal partners, specifically our financial partners led by Stanbic IBTC Capital, RMB, and UCML. Our stockbrokers to the listing, APT Securities and Cardinal Stone Securities, our solicitors, UUBO, and our registrars, Africa Prudential Company, and finally, our auditors, PwC. In closing, I would like to state that BUA Foods remains committed to the underlying values of providing exemplary products, achieving business objectives with social responsibility, and enhancing shareholder value. I'm sure that with your best wishes and confidence shown in our capabilities, the company will achieve even greater milestones. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alhaji Kabiru, for the opening remarks. Alhaji Kabiru is the Group Executive Director of BUA Foods PLC and is representing the Chairman, BUA Foods PLC, Mr. Abdul Samad Rabiu. Now I would invite Engineer Ayodele Abire, the Managing Director, BUA Foods PLC, for his presentation. You're welcome, sir. Good morning, Engineer Ayodele. Hello, good morning, sir. Sir, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Sorry for that break. It's my screen. Okay.
Yes. Can you put it in your slideshow? In slideshow, rather. Your presentation.
HDMI 2.
Your presentation is in slideshow right now, sir, and you can carry on.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry for that small glitch in the presentation. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to our Fact Behind the Listing presentation. We do appreciate your time out of your very busy schedule with us this morning. Joining me on this presentation will be the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Abdul Rashid Olaiwola. To begin the presentation, I would like us to quickly have a quick view on the content slide. We will begin the presentation with an introduction to BUA Foods PLC and conclude with a summary of listing. In between that, we shall speak to our operational and financial performances. Also, we will speak about environmental and social contributions, as well as our business strategy. So we'll begin the slide with the introduction to BUA Foods PLC. And what you have is a fact slide that represents the BUA Foods PLC in a glance. This fact slide gives a snapshot of what the business is. And to summarize it, is to start by saying that we're a leading food powerhouse that is significantly diversified. We have a mission to availing our customers and consumers with high quality products. As you will see, we operate with 5 divisions and 2 strategic subsidiaries. In terms of locations, our sites are strategically located, and we do operate with 8 ultra-modern manufacturing facilities. Looking at historical utilizations, which has helped us in helping and fulfilling demand from our customers, it has also helped in impacting our operating costs positively. We have seen saturation levels that suggest investments in creating headrooms in some of our divisions. Our journey of almost 2 decades in the food business has come to an important milestone this morning, and also in recent time. We recently consolidated and listed on the Nigerian exchange, as you are aware. We will be speaking more into all of these facts in subsequent slides. Let's begin with our position, our location picture views, which is basically showing the view of some of our operational sites and assets. This slide shows our spot locations and complexes that drives our presence across Nigeria. It also helps in providing enablement for growth and, of course, the creation of value. This is also helping us in fulfilling our commitment to be part of a healthy consumer choices focused on nourishing lives. To specifically mention, it's also to see the strategic sites and the work that we're doing in this picture. We will move to the next slide, where we'll speak to our governance structure. Again, in driving our commitments to fulfill Africa Foods demand, BUA Foods PLC is led by a seasoned board of directors with robust knowledge and diverse experiences. Led by the chairman, the board of directors is responsible for providing leadership to deliver long-term value to all our shareholders and stakeholders. It's important also to add that the board establishes corporate policies, sets strategic directions, and ensures that an effective internal control environment exists in our business. Also to that is that the board oversees the management team, and I'll speak a little bit more about that. And of note is that the board operates with relevant governance committee. The board also recognizes the fact that in delegating its function and authorities, it maintains the overall responsibility for corporate governance. On the management team, this is led by the managing director in the overall execution of strategies, receiving delegated authority from the board to perform day-to-day management functions, Also important to note is that our 5 business divisions are led by division directors and general managers, with reporting line to an executive director. The team in its whole has an overall responsibility for supervising and coordinating all key businesses and operational activities, and to implement all projects and initiatives as approved by the board. The team ensures that all overall outcomes are aligned with the company business strategy at all times. We have provided more details about key individuals in the appendix. This slide takes us to the next slide, where we shall highlight and give some important highlight facts or information for investments. To answer a question that says, why BUA Foods PLC? We say we are future focused. We're a resilient business built on strong brand and high quality products. We are uniquely positioned to capture increasing sector growth opportunities, fast-paced with innovative expansion capabilities, and we present an attractive financial profile which ensures a return on investment, primarily the essence of our existence. As a business, we nurture and continue to leverage our strategic partnership on our journey. We have done this in the past and will continue to do that. Also, as a business, we rely on good governance and the experiences of our people to deliver sustainable results. Next slide. On this slide, we present our journey to date, and it's important to also highlight that for more than 2 decades, or almost two decades to be precise, we have been on a journey of fulfilling human foods demand, promoting food security and nourishing lives. It's our strong belief that to make a nourishing meal, you need our products. Fast forwarding this journey to the present, BUA Foods PLC was birthed in 2021, and this was an outcome of a planned restructuring process of all our food business entities. Today, we're here to follow up on this listing of this enlarged entity, which became listed on the Nigerian Exchange on the 5th of January 2022. On the next slide, we will double-click on our business structure, highlighting once again that 3 of our 5 businesses division, namely sugar, flour, and pasta, are currently and fully operational and are contributing to our current revenue stream. We shall speak more to that also in subsequent slides. While our rice division will begin operations before the end of the year, we are working to also recommence our edible oil operations in the mid to long-term frame. It's worthy of emphasis to also mention that our 2 subsidiaries, as you can see on the slide, are strategical growth engines focused on our long-term and economic value creation. To highlight that is to say that our destination sugar refinery, for instance, presents our market's expansion opportunity into the African markets and the West Africa as a start. Our operation in Lasuko will help us to deliver our commitment on our agricultural strategy, focusing on the backward integration program. On the next slide, I will speak to our operations. To begin this, let's look at what related industry data has. And then looking at these slides with some macros and some basic industry data, we can summarize that the food industry is an important part of Nigerian gross GDP, tracking almost 5% in contribution and a significant source of employment. We can see population increase, which presents continuous need for food, obviously an opportunity for food. And as we all know, food remains a basic need for the human race. Also to mention is that World Trade Organization, in one of our recent reports, affirmed that Nigeria is the biggest food market in Africa. This is equally justified in the increasing projection that we see in food spending as projected. Then the question is, how do we tap into this opportunity? And that takes us to the next slide to speak more on our operations. To tap into this opportunity that we see in the industry, our operation presents a platform that is suitable, sustainable, efficient, and scalable. Our business model in itself and our broad product offerings positions us to serve a wider range of customers and consumers. With our location facilities operating and managed at good efficiency for sustainable growth, it's therefore important that we plan to expand our current shares of markets and mines as we continue to drive for scale. Further into our operations, it's also to mention that our current market leadership equally positions us in such a way that we will not only be protected but improved upon as we complete ongoing expansions in our flour, pasta, and rice division in current year. We will also continue to drive our supply chain integration, again through the backward integration program. Finally, we will progress our partnership with our host communities and our supply network. The next set of slides will be speaking to our financials. And these facts on our financials will be presented by the CFO. So let me invite the Chief Financial Officer to speak to us on this set of facts.
Thank you, MD. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for creating time out of your busy schedule to join us for this event. As a follow-up to the overview presented in the previous slide, I'll be speaking on our historical financial performance in the next few minutes. Over the last few years, we have experienced strong growth across all our business entities. Between 2020 and November 2021, our food business experienced robust growth across all our profit and loss line items. In the absence of full year audited accounts for 2021, what we have represented on the slide you're about to see is a comparison between the full year 2020 and 11 months November 2021 management accounts. Please note that the 2021 numbers are unaudited management accounts. On the slide you are looking at, we have a broad view of our financial performance. On our revenue, between 2020 and November 2021, BUA Food experienced significant growth in revenue. We recorded a 58% growth in revenue for the 11 months period ended November 2021. Our revenue base is a diversified one, as we have 3 operational divisions at the moment: sugar, flour, and pasta. And we will become more diversified as our rice and edible oil become operational within the year and in the short-term period. Sugar remains the highest contributor to our revenue, contributing a total of 63% of our total revenue. The significant growth that we have recorded in revenue, the reason for this significant growth in our revenue is not far-fetched. It's simply due to our market acceptability. Our products are in high demand due to our quality and transparency around how safely we are producing these products. At BUA Foods will continue to build a very strong brand, supportive of generating the right kind of interest in our products. In the next slide, we'll be speaking more on our profit and loss statement. In line with our revenue growth, our cost of sales increased by 62%. The high rise in our cost of sales than revenue is due to increased production costs for further growth in our pasta and flour divisions. At BUA Food, we focus on cost optimization as a driver of increasing profitability. And this resulted in lower OPEX margin during the year. 3.3% in November 2021, down from 5.9% as at FY 2020. Our strategy of solid growth in revenue and expense efficiency has enabled us to sustain good profitability. That's why, despite the increase in our production costs, we still achieve a 25.9% profit margin, which by all standards is a remarkable performance in our line of in our own sector. In the next slide, we'll be speaking on the changes in our statement of financial position. We recorded increased growth in our assets, which is driven by our capital investments in plant and machinery for our flour and pasta division as we seek to expand existing capacity, as well as kickstart new operation in our rice and edible oil. Our equity increased, given the provision of additional shares ahead of our listing and a rise in our retained earning, as we aim to leverage on our good performance to reinvest in our business operation. On our borrowings, our borrowing is made up of short-term trade facilities and term loans. The term loans were taken to support our company expansion drive. The bulk of our borrowing is actually short-term trade facilities. To drive down the points, the demand for healthy and quality food, as mentioned earlier in the opening remark, will continue to increase as we grow our economy and the population and our population expand. And this is one of the reasons why at BUA Food, we are making so much investment in capacity today, backed by a robust backward integration strategy too, so that we can harness all the opportunities that is available today and in the future. Our vision is to fulfill Africa's food demand by promoting food security and nourishing lives. And we are committed to this vision and to Africa. The various investments in capacity that we are doing today is to ensure that future earnings are sustainable and will provide good returns for our shareholders. Thank you for your time. I'll be glad to take your questions after the conclusion of the presentation by the MD. At this junction, let me return back to the MD to continue with his presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Ayodele. You're muted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, CFO. And what you have just listened to is the facts behind our financial performances. We now move to the next slide section, rather, on environmental and social contribution as well as our business strategy. To begin this section is to look at our environmental contributions. As a business, we are committed to responsible production. This is and consumption precisely, and this is in line with the Global Sustainable Development Goal number 12. Our environmental stewardship and accountabilities are focused on minimizing greenhouse gas effects, water and waste management, community, of course, and occupational health with focus on operational noise, dust, and water pollution is also a key focus for us. Also important to mention is that in partnership with our parent foundation, we continue to impact socially by supporting our communities in food, healthcare, and education. Specific to mention is our contribution during the recent pandemic through COVID, providing support in food items as well as ambulances. This takes us to the next slide on our business strategy. We have 6 strategic big bets. And these are informed by our clear mission to deliver sustainable value to all our stakeholders. Once again, as an emphasis. And to bring all of this together, we will focus our improvements in market share, leveraging our planned increase in capacity ahead of demand, supporting our partnerships and enforcing them as well as our B2C strategy on the downstream. Enhanced funding with our listed shares on the Nigerian exchange, we believe, with also the ensuing opportunities that come with it. Last important point to raise is that we continue to promote the sourcing of our raw material locally through agriculture. To buttress these points, is the next slide, which primarily demonstrates our commitment. Pictorially, we present an ongoing work in our expansion activity going on in line with enhancing our production headroom. This is clearly a demonstration of our efforts to continue to invest ahead of demand once again. And the spotlight here is on 3 divisions, as you can see on the slide, namely flour, pasta, and rice. On our current base of daily capacity in flour, for instance, we will be adding an additional 2,400 tons per day to bring our total capacity to about 4,000 tons per day. This is a 150% increase. In the pasta division, we will double the capacity, and that will be bringing our total capacity per day to about 1,320. On the next slide, we'll speak to our marketing strategy. Again, this is focused on 3 key pillars. First, to protect our current core and to deepen penetrations, to widen our reach. This is to enable us to gain more volume, value, and mind share. We'll also focus on managing our partners and stakeholders, largely in the customer chain. The third part is that we'll aggressively drive our brand visibility through media and social awareness. The next slide brings us to the summary of the listing. The listing details are all presented, as you can see on the slide, including the mention of all our external professional support parties, which I will call out in the opening remarks. But important to highlight that we got listed on the 5th of January, once again, on the 5th of January 2022, with 18 billion units of shares, and our ticker is BUA Foods. Next slide speaks to the rationale behind the listing. And in terms of rationale, we believe very strongly that widening the wealth creation opportunity for all stakeholders is the right thing to do at this point. And of course, in this stage of our journey. It also provides a platform for long-term capital to drive sustainable growth, and more importantly, enhance our corporate governance, assuring corporate success and economic growth. We believe an enhanced investors' confidence will allow the business to raise capital efficiently and effectively. Overall, we foresee a positive impact on our share price as we run this journey. To conclude, I'd like to highlight four key important points as takeaways. First, BUA Foods remains a key and leading player in the food sector, well diversified with high quality operations. Significantly fast-paced with innovative expansions to capture growth. We present a strong financial profile. And finally, we believe our listing on the main board of the exchange is creating access to the public to participate in our wealth creation journey, and equally allow us to harness long-term capital. On this note, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the board, management, and staff of BUA Foods for listening to us this morning, and thank you for your attention. Over to you, Loretta.
Thank you very much, Engineer Ayodele Abiy, for the presentation. We have just listened to the facts behind the listing presentation from BUA Foods PLC, as delivered by Engineer Ayodele Abiy, the Acting Managing Director of BUA Foods PLC, and Mr. Abdul Rashid Olaiwola, the Chief Financial Officer, BUA Foods PLC. Thank you for the detailed presentation. And to all our attendees, thank you for your questions so far. As we proceed into the Q&A session, I'd like to encourage you to continue to share your questions via the Q&A feature on your screen. Without further delay, let's get into the Q&A session. So we have a couple questions, and I'll take them in batches of 2. The first question is from Wayola Ajakai. How would the sugar tax in the Finance Act 2021 going to affect BUA's operations and prospects for 2021? What strategies are BUA Foods adopting to cope with the opportunities and risks? That's the first question. The second question is by Olatunji Taiwo. It says, do you see any demand impacts with the recently introduced excise tax on sugar beverages? With your public listing, how do you intend to win in the competitive consumer market? Over to you, Engineer Ayodele.
Yeah, thank you very much. Those 2 questions are very great tasks, and they are actually speak to the reality of today. To answer that, those questions, which more or less are similar, is to start first by saying that the impact of tax, of course, as we know, it's going to impact our customers largely in the downstream value chain of the food industry, and that's also a very big will have a backward impact also on us. However, we believe that the market today, as we speak, particularly the sugar in the sugar market, we believe is underserved. If you take a step back and look at the number from Food Agriculture Organization, PALSTAT, we will see that the informal market is contributing almost about 300,000 tons of sugar annually into this market through informal or unregistered means, as we know. This, in our view, is an opportunity for us to capture that space, and that can only happen if we are able to present product availability and also be able to serve the market fully in terms of closing out this demand. What will this do also is the fact that the quantum of money that is spent on this informal market will stay back in our economy, because putting the numbers together, we're seeing close to about $400 million thereabouts if you convert it on the current rate of sugars in the sugar sales in the market as a revenue. And it's an area we believe that we can plug into in terms of the white space that still exists in the market that we can tap into. Now, very importantly, is also to know that sugar is widely used for various products in the value chain. And it's important that while the market remains underserved, our strategy of capacity expansion will help to be able to capture this demand and keep it within our economy for the benefit of our business and our nation at large. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your answers. So the next set of questions, they are from anonymous attendees. And the first one goes, currently there is no financial statement for BUA Foods on the NGX platform. When will this be rectified? And then the second one goes, what effort does BUA Foods make to ensure their activities do not impact the environment negatively?
Okay, let me speak to the second one, and then I will ask the Chief Financial Officer to speak a bit on the financials. So the second one speaks to environmental responsibility. As highlighted in our presentation, we are highly committed to Sustainable Development Goal number 12, which speaks to responsible production and consumption. And what we are doing in-house is to ensure that from design of our facilities, procurement, as well as installation, we factor in integrated systems that ensure that our impact on the environment are not negative, and they are also minimized and controlled. In terms of accountability, as mentioned earlier, we will be closely presenting accountabilities around minimization of greenhouse gas effects, waste management, and of course, on the people side and our community, we're also focusing on effects of dust and noise within our operating environment. These are accountabilities that we are strongly committed to. And of course, in future engagements, we will be tracking and also be sharing with the public the progress we are making in all of this space. On the second part of this question, let me ask the Chief Financial Officer to respond to that.
Thank you, MD. On our financial being made available on the NGX website, as we speak, the audited financials are still undergoing review by our external auditor. Our account is still being audited, and as soon as it's concluded, that will be made available. But in the meantime, we have our listing memo, which has the 11 months statements inside it, available for all our stakeholders for the public to see. And I think that is already with the NGS and the SEC. So we have the 11 months already available to the public to see. Thank you.
Thank you, sirs, for your responses. So the next few questions are also by anonymous attendees. And yeah, they focus largely on financials. The first one goes, what is the percentage contribution of each product to revenue? The second one, says, which is the most significant item in your cost of sales? Over to you, Engineer Ayodele.
Yeah, thank you very much. Rashid, would you want to answer that as well?
Thank you, MD. Like we mentioned in the presentation, the sugar contributes 63%, flour 21%, and pasta 16%. This mix will change as rice and edible oil come on board. On the second question of the most significant cost items, we have material, that's our raw material, and energy. Those are the major cost in our cost of sales item. This is a production factory, facility, and it's normal that the majority of your cost will be raw material and energy. For OPEX, like we mentioned, we're able to do a lot of cost optimization as most of our facilities are new. So we're able to keep our OPEX to the BRS minimum level. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your answers. So the next two sets of questions are, the first one says, since the listing of BUA Foods PLC, its market capitalization has increased by over 50%. Based on this performance, is the company considering a follow-on public offering? And then the second question goes, are there any expansion plans by BUA Foods for the year 2022? And what impact would that have on your revenue? Over to you, Engineer Ayodele.
Yeah, thanks very much. Those are two very good and important questions. Speaking to the performance of our shares since the time we got listed 2 weeks ago. Those numbers are actually exciting. We are happy that the market is also excited about our listing. And we believe that this partnership will go a very long way in terms of promoting wealth for all stakeholders. In terms of consideration for public offer, as a listed company, it's an option. However, we believe that at the appropriate time, our board will take a decision, and we will take a decision as a business to use any available options that we have with our current status to be able to harness capital as desired in order for us to continue to keep our business expansion going and all of our intents. In terms of current reality, which is current year in terms of expansion, as mentioned earlier in our presentation, we have 3 operating divisions at this point in time that are contributing to revenue stream. We intend to add additional headroom on two of them, which is the flour and the pasta. And currently we are adding those capacities, and we believe that before the end of year, precisely mid-year, we should be getting those plants activated into the production stream. Added to that is also our intention to start our rice production, which also will begin before the end of the year. Thank you once again for those questions.
Thank you, sir, for your answers. So we have a few more questions. One from Odume Festus. It says, can you talk more on your rice business backward integration, and when actually is the rice business coming up? Second question. Okay. Let me take the second one. This is from Ayorinde Akinloye. It says, your margins are significantly higher than industry average. How have you been able to deliver such high margins in a competitive food industry?
Thank you so much. So let me begin by re-emphasizing again and throwing more light into our rice business. As you know, our journey of 2 decades, we have been working with these 5 divisions, and at certain milestones in our journey, we have taken the bold steps, also aligning with government requirements to enhance our platforms in terms of our ability to be able to key into the agricultural value chain. On rice specifically, we have just added over the last year till present additional equipment to be able to deliver on a daily basis almost about 500 tons of rice per day. We believe this will be in production before the end of the year once again. And we're working also very closely. As you know today, the government is promoting import substitution in certain categories of agricultural products, and rice is one of them. And I think today, again, if you listen all over the news, you see what the rice farmers are doing across the country. We are a member, we are a partner in that space, and we are a key player also in that space. So we believe that our facility is ready to be able to harness what is coming out of our farms for the purpose of creating and also continuing to provide options to our consumers across the country. The second bit, Abdul Rashid, would you want to speak to that?
Thank you, MD. Yeah, thanks for the question. On our margin, yes, that's to show the kind of growth we have experienced over the years, even before becoming a PLC. And like I mentioned, is due to acceptability of our products. Our products are in high demand, and that's one of the reasons why you see that we are increasing capacity in all our divisions, just to show the kind of demand we have. Like the MD said, before the end of the year, additional capacity for pasta and flour will be coming on board. Rice is coming on board. So, and the kind of product we have are the kind that are taken even before they are produced. And that's to show the kind of acceptability that BUA food has in the market. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your answers. So we have the next two sets of questions, and it says, what percentage of your margins is contributed by B2C and from B2B? That's the first question. And then the next one says, how soon do you intend to meet the exchange's minimum free float requirement? What mechanism do you intend to use to achieve this? Over to you, sir. Sir, you're muted, sir.
Let me start on the second one around the free floats. It's important to mention that it's a regulatory requirement, as we are quite aware of that as a business. In line with the approval we have received from the exchange, we will work within the guidelines that have been provided to ensure this is closed out within the next 24 months. We are committed to making this happen, and we will realize that in no time as part of our governance commitments. On the second question regarding B2C, before I ask the CFO to throw more light, but let me mention that as a business, we see an opportunity to gravitate into the downstream. And one of our strategies is to open up, to increase our footprint in terms of retail offerings to further reach more of our consumers on the downstream side. This is one of the key areas and key pillars that we did presented in our fact slides. The B2C primarily is targeted to growth areas for us going forward as a business division that have largely been a key player in the upstream. Thank you, Loretta.
Thank you very much, sir, for your answers to the questions. And thanks to the attendees for the questions. Thank you, the Acting Managing Director and CFO, for providing responses to these questions. It's been quite an engaging session. Because we're pressed for time, we won't be taking further questions.
Loretta, if I may, can we stretch this a little bit? There are quite a lot of questions that need to be answered. So perhaps you can just stretch it by another 10 minutes if that's okay.
Okay, that's
Let's
okay.
do that, please. Thank you. I think we can make things work.
Okay, all right. So we'll take further questions. We have a couple questions from anonymous attendees. One of them says, years ago, the flour business was sold to Olam. Does this mean BUA Food has set up another flour milling business, and has the commercialization of this flour operations commenced? Over to you, Engineer Ayodele.
Yes, thank you very much. I think to be straightforward, the answer is yes. We're running an ultra modern flour and pasta facility in the present, and the same facility is undergoing some expansion as we highlighted in our presentation earlier. Let me use this opportunity to thank Olumide for providing an opportunity for our stakeholders to actually hear more from us. Let me also commit that if we are not able to do justice to all the questions, we will take it as a responsibility to provide responses to them. And you can please feel free to visit our website and a FAQ section to be able to have more insights. Added to that is the fact that we will be engaging on a regular basis routinely as required with the public, and you'll be hearing more from us. And we believe that your confidence will become more reinforced over time. Over to you, Lawrence.
Okay. So we'll take another question, sir, because there's still a couple more. From Mustafa Wahab. It says, following the restructuring, how will the company allocate cost effectively across the divisions, given that they now benefit from shared services of logistics, distribution, and marketing?
Okay, so our business are going to be, one of the strategy we called out in our facts presentation is about scale. And the benefit of scale is also the fact that you enjoy unit cost reduction. We have partners and we have partnerships with along our supply chain and of course our value chain creation process. As we expand, we are not just expanding in isolation. All units of the operating contributing elements will equally growing with the business, and they will also be contributing their own in their own space. So key takeaway here is the fact that as you scale, your unit cost per unit naturally drops. And this, as we know, in every manufacturing business, it's the principle. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So a question from Friday Ekioba. It says, what is the current market share of the BUA Foods products in the domestic market? More so, there is little or no awareness of your products considering its usage in the various households. What is your take on this?
Again, as our strategy suggests in the fact sheets, our current base share is ranging between 25 to 35, as we presented in the slides across the division, the various divisions: sugar, pasta, flour, as we did mention. Again, recall that we are a leading food business in the country, and we play a significant role in terms of product offering to a very wide consumer base. As a strategy, we tend to, again, as an emphasis, to play a part in the downstream with the intention to capture more mind share as well as acquire more shelf space, particularly in the modern markets. And we're going to see all of this play out over the time, beginning from now, as we begin to join into in this new life of the business. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One more question. It says, regarding this question is from Fei Ilemore. Regarding the 11 months revenue you shared, Please, can you share volume and price growth? Secondly, where specifically are your plants located and what region contribute the most to your sales?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Faye, for that excellent question. Also brings it back to our fact sheet. And let me ask the CFO to please take this question.
No, 11 months. Yeah, thank you, MD. If I hear the question correctly, he wants to know what regions contribute more to our revenue line, right? Like we said, we are all over the country. So, and our product, yes, we have our facilities both in Lagos and Port Harcourt, but we make sure that our market is all over Nigeria. Our products, we have customers spread across the entire region. Though in Lagos in particular, where we have some of the corporate customers, we have some of our products going to some of the corporate customers in the Lagos region, but we are spread all over, so we cannot say this region in particular contributes more to the revenue because we have a lot of trade customers spread all over Nigeria.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for your response and for your responses to the questions. So we've come to the end of our question and answer session. And I'd like to thank the attendees and the Acting Managing Director and CFO BUA Foods PLC for providing responses to these questions. It's been quite an engaging session. And because we're pressed for time, we won't be taking any other questions. But if you have more questions, please, you can see on your screen the presentation, and there's an email address there. You can direct your questions to that email address on your screen. As we bring the event to a close, I'd like to thank our guests, the Group Executive Director of BUA Foods PLC, who is representing the Chairman, BUA Foods PLC, Alhaji Kabiru Rabiu, the Acting Managing Director, BUA Foods PLC, Engineer Ayodele Abioye, the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Abdul Rashid Olaiwola, and the entire management team of BUA Foods PLC. Thank you so much for taking out the time to join us today. Also, thank you to the attendees for the questions asked. We appreciate the time. We appreciate the time spent. And we wish you a very good day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.